Good evening. Today is Thursday, May 22nd. I'll call the North Andover Board of Health to order, and we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we will start with the approval of last month's minutes. I know Jen had sent an email saying that she looked it over. So if there's any issues, I will take a motion.
I motion that we approve the minutes as so written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we will actually move right along to new business. We have our local celebrity, Ron, come over and talk about our tobacco regulation updates regarding integration of state laws into the local tobacco control regulations. Welcome during the nor'easter.
Thank you.
Scares me for people who call it a nor'easter, that's for sure.
Isn't it supposed to snow
Ne-
this nor'easter?
Yes, that's what I grew up with, but I'm aging myself, yeah.
Apparently, I heard it actually can happen this time of the year.
I guess so. Well, thankfully, there's no snow flying.
Yeah.
So, thank you for having me. The 105 CMR is of course, the law of our land of Massachusetts here. It's the strongest state law in the country on tobacco control. My apologies, I can get these to you through Craig or Brian. Some of my comments in it are referring to 105 CMR 665, which is the law that came into effect in 2020. I'm going to rifle through it really quickly, but any questions, you just let me know, because a lot of it is somewhat technical and dry. So it looks like the first on page 4, it's just some definitional changes. Coupon, just to let you know that the new definition of coupon, and this will reflect a different section in your, it refers to a different section in your local regulations about not being able to use coupons to get discounted prices on tobacco. Suffice to say, the state has broadened the definition of coupon to include literally a sign. My age, it was literally a piece of paper you gave it. Now it's on a phone, and there's a sign and a promotion. So that's what that is. You had electronic cigarette. It's now called an electronic nicotine delivery device. It goes into a little more depth, but suffice it to say, it's a more comprehensive definition. There's references to liquid nicotine containers listed in non-discounted price. I won't go through those. I just will let you know that these are definitions for further sections down the road. Smoking bar, again, just taking it out of state law, Chapter 270, Section 22. We added really noteworthy in the state law that was not in the local regulations is there's a prohibition against not only flavored tobacco, but tobacco product flavor enhancers, which are basically a good example of it would be if at a vape shop or even at a convenience store, I found them when we first started working with the new law. The state actually stayed ahead of the game. While flavored vapes were prohibited, and of course they are prohibited in entirety right here in North Andover, but they define them as a flavor enhancer is something like, say, was an inert juice, but it was obviously for the purpose of adding to a vape product. That too would be prohibited as well. So that adds to yours restrictions. It's okay. The 21, the required signage really makes it short and sweet on page 8. There's a litany of signs. There's 5 required signs, 6 if you count an adult-only tobacco store, and it's just quite easier to just refer to the state law. Identification, that's a huge change from what you had. North Andover, as well as several other towns in the collaborative, were leaders in raising the have-to ID age from 27 to 40. But the state has gone all the way and made it ID everybody. So that's what the change is there. Okay, let's see. Sale of tobacco prohibited. Free distributions and coupon redemptions you'll see in 11, so it'll just indicate that you cannot redeem a coupon as defined earlier, as I mentioned. and let's see, violations. This is probably, again, one of the more, I say trickier, but it's been changed into a two-tier system. It supplants what you originally had, which was a large fine of $300 as a standard, but now the state has, of course, gone to the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for a second, third offense. So that first section, 17.1, just makes reference to the fact that those are all the penalties for violations of anything that mirrors 105 CMR 665, which would be a sale to underage, flavored tobacco, not IDing, that sort of thing. Whereas the 17.2, I left it as you had it. There'll be some little questions about whether you want to adjust it from 24 months to 36 months. But again, that second section, 17.2, would be violations pertaining to your local regulations that are not mirrored in the state law. An example of that would be your minimum pricing for cigars. But there could be some good reason for you to just make everything consistent with the 36-month tolling period. And that is it. I did that fast, I know, but I want you to know I take a lot of, I'd rather amend your regulations, which were really good, and I think with 2019, they came out just before the state law, and they were probably among the strongest in the state. But I tried to use those notes to let you know exactly, this is your regs, and everything in red is the proposed changes to include 105 CMR 665. Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what is the average amount that the state takes per year for fines? And do they take those fines and put it into the quit hotline or, smoking cessation?
I thought you were going to ask me a related question in regard to excise taxes and sales taxes related to tobacco control. Those are in the hundreds of millions.
Yeah, that's
the answer
true.
to that is the general fund for the state. There was I think there's some potential constitutional issues unless there was a specific law passed to, what do they call it, designate, I think is the word. For the local regs, it's a real rough on me. I just had a mass tobacco control meeting today. I have a few ideas. One I'll share with you because I know I don't want to go over my time for the agenda. But the fines that are collected, and I'm not proud of it. It's a weight on my shoulders. I've collected well over $80,000 since early part of 2023. It's a lot of money. We're getting into the 2,000, 5,000 range now for a second, third. We have a longer tolling period. I have some ideas to help change that, which I'll follow up with. But the answer to your question is, any of the fines, I have 18 communities, so for every community, it goes into this general fund for your town. We don't get it, and the state doesn't get it. So good. So I won't, if you have any questions, it's fine. If not, probably just take a look at this with your staff, and let me know if there's anything else you want to add. If there's something, there are things I'd like you to add, but it's too early yet. So the second part of my presentation is, look, I've been doing this since 2001. I may have mentioned this, but I now have done a lot of work on it. I mentioned the fines, and people don't realize that unless you don't have empathy, you know that the error, certainly in a sale to underage, is highly, highly likely, in fact, probably 100% of the time, a mistake. Often done by someone part-time. Not always, but the vast majority of times. So, we pride ourselves in going in and letting that person know right away, within 10 minutes after I draw up things. One thing that's occurred to me is there's a section that I mentioned earlier about IDing. And I had a lot of pushback today among my colleagues, in good spirit. But I said there's a section of this law that is not enforced, and frankly is essentially not ignored, but not given to me the elevation that it may deserve, and that is the idea that you have to ID everyone. Now, we don't go out and do compliance checks, AKA stings, to check if someone who's 60 years old can go into a store and buy tobacco. That's a tough one to do, and I think maybe, well, I don't think maybe, I think it's the reason why it's not enforced. It's a weird little animal there that it's really calling out to have us test, but we don't. I guess you could call it discretion, you know, and I can see good reason for that. It might not give our program a very good name to know that, you know, Joe X, you know, was able to, at 62 years old, was able to go into the store and, you know, and not be ID'd. He wasn't ID'd, so that's what we ticketed him for. And I feel discomfort in that. But I also feel discomfort in not understanding why it was put in there. And so what I've done over the last 6 months is I've been studying the point of purchase, the cash registers systems. And most of them, when a product is being purchased, it's scanned. And once they scan it, on the computer, what appears on the screen is usually a small portion of it, maybe a quarter, not even a quarter of the screen. It looks like a calculator, and next to it says, and it's an instruction of some sort that says, "Be sure to ID. Are they over 21? Check." There's usually calendars they can refer to, and sometimes they're right on the computer screen. But in the end, it takes you're relying on the discretion of the person behind the counter. Again, oftentimes the whole industry, the whole retail industry is built on part-time employees, while hardworking, one of the hardest, very difficult job to deal with. I've done it myself. But perhaps might not be quite always invested in the interest of the owner and the manager. Not because of any quarrel with them, but just not feeling it to that degree of responsibility. And they may make a bad judgment and miscalculate with how they feel someone's age is. So I went into it, so I looked at those systems and I confirmed that for the vast majority, I would say about 100 or so of my 350 retailers, I've done this, that they give the discretion, while directed, that they can either put in any date, which someone like myself, walking up, they'd put in a date. It didn't matter really what it was, as long as it was over 21. And, or sometimes they even have a button, you know, a button to void, which might as well just say, this guy's obvious. So they press the button, which again, these are what we might want to call tree in the woods situations, right? You know, and so why are we going to get all obsessed about this new rule? The only reason why I could be argued to be obsessed is that I've been doing this for so long, since '01, that when our regulation, our statistics from our compliance checks, we are regarded as having good results. I think we really work hard to educate. That comes first. I've taken that to heart. When I have some extra money in the budget, I always get, I don't pay for anything else but manpower. I want people out there helping me and just re-emphasizing. We have the signs that say, ID everyone, don't leave it to chance, that sort of thing. Well, I bumped into a person in Westford. Name is Mike Abood. He owns a place called the Big Apple Market in Delhi. What a delightful fellow. This man, he really knocked my socks off when I saw his system, because I went in and I said, how's this work, Mike? And he showed me, he goes, let me show you this. And so he scans the product, and then on the screen, it's black. And the only thing on the screen is a message, scan ID. I says, Mike, what's that? You know, I basically said, where's the override for me? Or, you know, where do you put the birth date? And he just shook his head. And I says, what? And he goes, you mean you have to scan the ID? He says, yeah. And I said, well, you don't have to do that. It's not a regulatory requirement. He goes, I know. He sells beer and wine. It's a great establishment, kind of a niche. You know, it's sort of like a little kind of a grocery deli convenience store. And then when I'll never forget it, because when I asked him, I said, and he showed me other features of it, you could count the amount of products and back, and the inventory was on his phone. He paid a little fee every month. I think it was $50 a month. And I said, Mike, why do you do it? And he says, and he looked me in the eye and he said, because I can sleep at night. He says, I don't have to worry about a call coming in, whether it be ABCC or it be tobacco control, that someone made a mistake. Now, he has the option to do it, and that's fine. He's the owner. It's on him. But if he's not there, and generally, even when he is there, because I've seen him seen in operation, they just do it. They just do it, and everyone comes out with a card. So what I'm going to do is I've assured all the retailers that this is not something that the boards of health are currently looking at. And I frankly don't want you to, my request. I want to know from them. We're going to discuss whether, I'm going to call it Mike's system, is the way to go. Are we going to use scanners as an approach to get my 5 to 10% fail rate that I invariably get every year to a 0 or a 1? I'll get a 1. 1% I can accept, just to do to whatever vagaries. But I really want to shoot for that. And the frustrating thing for me is I keep being told by my supervisors that, Ron, that's great. AA minus, 5 to 10%, that's great. And I goes, it feels like an A. You say it's like an A. It doesn't feel like an A to me, because I want everyone to succeed. And I want to figure out a system. And the sting, or the compliance check, I'm supposed to stay away from that word. I don't, because that's how I talk with all of the retailers. That's what they view it as. Solid, meaning it has legal there's no weakness to the argument that it's not entrapment. It feels like it, but it's not, and it's a well-established enforcement tool. What I'm going to be doing is having Zoom meetings to say, how can we either reduce or frankly eliminate the need for it? Now, maybe not totally eliminate, but it might be a different kind of a sting, just to see whether or not you're really using the system. Or maybe an accentuated penalty if there was a sale and you didn't have the system, if a town were to adopt it. This has some precedent. I've gone across department lines, and I've had a meeting with the fellow that works with education and inspections for the Cannabis Control Commission. What a partnership. I had an hour-long conversation with him, and I learned that I was hoping, it's nothing like being able to copy regulations and paste them, or close to. And I was hoping that, based on my anecdotal knowledge of the way sales occur at marijuana establishments, that perhaps there was a reg, because I heard everyone has to have their ID scanned. And they gave me the regs, and they don't require that. They do require, the regulations for the cannabis control do require a dual ID system, once at the door to go into the store, and then once at the point of purchase at the register. However, he did tell me that the vast majority of the hundreds of the establishments do use scanning, and always do. So he likes talking with me, because he's relatively new, and I like talking with him. He's very knowledgeable. And this may be wrong, but I'm at the good old age, I'm going to be 64 this year, and I'm trying to solve this before I'm done. And I could go through the rest of it by just going to my education, getting my 5 and 10%, and doing it over again and over and over and over. But I think we should be focused. For those funds that you're sensitive to, there's so much more we can do with cessation. I was hoping could change my role and be more of an ombudsman to say, hey, there's a cessation, can I have these can I leave these cards at your store? Yes, I would check to make sure they don't flavored and all of that. That's my duty, and I do that. But expand it to try to reduce the demand and not focus so much on the supply. So there you go. That's what I'll be doing. I'm having a Zoom meeting, several Zoom meetings. I hope maybe one next week. I have about 100 names now, And I have found about 8, 9, or 10 places that do something close to Mike. And I'll just leave it with this. I thought it was funny. I get a lot of pushback, and there are pushbacks on it. Passports don't scan, but I'm not trying to be too stern, but you know, just got to use something besides a passport. They said military IDs, you know, don't scan. I had an opportunity to, you know, train for military when I was in college. I have nothing but admiration and honor for our armed services. But if they don't scan, I think at the Department of Registry of Motor Vehicles for about $35 you can get an ID, just official ID. So, and that the IDs are getting better and they don't scan as well. I'm going to get peppered with questions about that the system I'm about to raise is not going to, you know, has its imperfections too.
What's the cost of it?
There's one that's going to be discussed. I talked to Mike about that. It ranges greatly. When I say it ranges greatly, it's because some of the big establishments, the chain stores and such, the systems they have, I know through first-hand experience with the managers, they can have someone, I know they've had people come in, the software, tinker with it for a short time, and voila, it goes from the system I told you with the calculator to the scan. One time I bumped into a person in Drake, manager, and I went into the store and I found out that they had this system where they had ID, and the person behind the counter showed me it, and I said, wow. I called her up after I left the store, and I said, since when did you have that? And she says, you, meaning me. And I said, it was when you gave me a $1,000 fine because my staff, we had it switched over. That's it. It's over. We're going to do it that way from now on. So, in the last, the thing I think about when I mention the cannabis control, what I envision possibly, if this is to the liking, and this is one of those ones I really would feel wrong and not honoring the retailers seriously. If not the vast majority want this, I wouldn't want to recommend it to the board because it can involve price. To answer your question, it can cost thousands of dollars, $3,000, $4,000, plus a monthly fee. I've learned a lot about the scanners. There's a big difference between a $150 scanner and a $400 scanner, what it can pick up and what it can't, how good they are, how consistent they are. We're going to talk about all of this during the Zoom meetings. And I'm going to let it, I am a bias. I told you mine. I tend to think that's the way to go. But I told them all, if you tell me, nice try, Ron, but we're going to go with the old system. It's just kind of a pick your poison. The one thing I'd like to see happen is if I went to a cannabis store, marijuana establishment, me, there's a good look at me. If I want to go in there, give it up, ID. Give it up, ID. I'm here every day. I'm here. Look at me. You want it? ID. How can we transform the tobacco purchaser to be like the marijuana purchaser? And, if people want to debate, I'm not an expert on marijuana, but everything I've learned since I started this job is that nothing tops tobacco in terms of morbidity and deaths in the world. So for public health safety, nothing holds a candle. I once watched a movie called Thank You for Smoking, and I don't know if anyone ever saw that, but I just have a great memory of it because I think of a 10-year-old boy looking at his dad, a tobacco lobbyist, doing his job, honoring his dad, knowing he has a job to do. But they get together at a bar or something like that, and they're all, firearms, alcohol, and tobacco. And they're all, the person with the alcohol says, they're slamming me. 10,000 people died this year, from this. And the gun, same thing, thousands died. And the tobacco lobbyist says, you got nothing on me. I got 450,000 dying from tobacco. So it's up there. It's up there, if not at the top. So I think it deserves at least some inquiry. So thanks for, sorry I'm taking time.
No, thanks, Ron.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No, other than I think when you left us the last time, it was, the cost was the big.
Yeah, we had talked about the machine
Well,
last time.
all right, so you'll be, Brian, or Craig, you'll be able to relay that information. I don't think I'm going to have a definite answer for you after these, but I'm going to have a lot better knowledge after
I
these
think
Zoom meetings.
if the state had some type of a grant program for
Yeah.
businesses or something, I know.
Because
No.
we sort of talked about that, or even repurposing the fines towards actually purchasing the machines or something.
Nothing would make me feel better than to have grants help defray the costs that would come along. We just had a Juul settlement for tens of millions of dollars. I've made my pitch. We'll see. So yeah, cost is a big issue and there are, by the way, there's like I've met I think about a handful that really have the old system, so it would cost them the most. They have literally like just the old cash register, no monitor or nothing like that, so I'm sensitive to that. It may deep fix it, but we're gonna try. Anyone else has an idea, by the way, let me know. I'm trying to figure out how to change my job.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Okay, now we'll move on to the Save North Andover Wildlife presentation. Is there a way to get the TV on here so we can see the presentation?
Yeah, I met with the Conservation Commission, and I said, how are you seeing the slides? Like,
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
very nice gigantic TV there that we usually,
Okay.
We actually have eye slits in the back.
Oh, that
too.
Yeah, we just don't
That
tell
too.
anybody.
So it's down there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah, I saw it.
No, I didn't. Can that be adjusted? It was like showing two slides at once, or?
I will try.
Okay. Thanks, Jennifer.
so we'll just have you guys just introduce yourself and then
We will, okay.
the floor is all yours.
Yeah, I'm Carol Disney, and I'm a North Andover citizen, of course, and a member of this group called Save North Andover Wildlife. And
Denise Dion, I work with Carol on this committee, and I'm a North Andover citizen.
we all are, yeah.
Yeah, we are.
And Janet Foley is also part of Save North Andover Wildlife. So I'm going to just give you the information, and Denise and Janet just have a quick little addendum to add to it. So just to start, I feel like we're all really fortunate to live in this town that has a pretty strong conservation ethic. When you think about, we were one of the first towns in the Commonwealth that adopted the Community Preservation Act, and we have these great areas in town. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm out there a lot. That's how I met Denise more than 15 years ago, walking our dogs, and now we're out every single Sunday doing that. So, so the group, we're a group dedicated to reducing a class of poison being used in town and the whole state that is sickening and killing wildlife and pets, and which also poses a danger to children. The name of the class of poison, it's a mouthful, is second-generation anticoagulant rodenticide, usually referred to as SCARs. So I'm going to break that down. Rodenticide, rat poison. Anticoagulant means that the blood doesn't clot when the animal consumes the poison. So these are the poisons, you know, those little bait boxes you see around the little black boxes, and you can switch to the next slide, that are usually in them. I should have asked you to change before, but okay. So the next slide, please. So unfortunately, an unintended effect of the SCARs is secondary poisoning to our wildlife, which in North Andover includes coyotes, foxes, hawks, owls, and bald eagles. Just the other day, I was at the sheep shearing festival. We had a table there, and as I was leaving, a bald eagle flew over a juvenile. It was pretty cool. But anyway, so what happens, well, let me back up. In their lifetimes, a healthy fox can consume 2,000 to 8,000 mice or rats. And a red-tailed hawk, this is amazing, 10 to 20,000. And a great horned owl, 20 to 50,000. And right now, red-tailed hawks are nesting, and they bring their fledglings prey, like 10 to 15 prey items, which is little mice and little rats and voles. And it's kind of scary to think they might be bringing them poison. Tufts University has done 3 studies of red-tailed hawks and checked their blood for rodenticide poisoning, and the very last study found that 100% of the red-tailed hawks had it. So when a rat eats poison from the bait box, the poison doesn't kill them like that. It takes, 5 to 10 days for the rat to die. So when they leave the box, they feel okay for a little while, but they sort of get slower, and they're very, very easier for the owls, a new species, the owls and the hawks and the eagles and everything to catch. So if a predator eats enough poison rats, it will sicken and die. And so not only is this a wildlife tragedy, but we're killing the things that are eating the rats. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So these are barred owls that were unsuccessfully treated for rodenticide poisoning at Cape Ann Wildlife. And we know this is happening because the rehabilitators people are bringing in foxes and all of these things, and they're seeing it, and they're taking samples of their blood and slides and sending it, Anyway, so we want to be clear that we are not a pro-rat group. We recognize that people don't want rats in their homes and business, and that rodents can be destructive. But poisoning rats with rodenticides is not the poison. Next slide, please. We advocate a process, you probably have heard of this, called IPM. It's integrated pest management. And simply put, that means that we reduce the rodent population in 3 main ways: exclude, starve, target. Exclude means to do things such as filling up entry points to our homes, because a rodent, as you probably know, a mouse can enter something as small as a pencil, and a rat the size of a quarter. And then we starve them by securing trash cans and dumpsters. I mean, I know we've all walked by dumpsters and seen the door wide open, and they have to be. There can't be any holes in them, and the doors need to be, carefully closed. And moving bird feeders away from our homes. And I do have bird feeders, but it's not like right by my window. And yes, we do target as necessary with lethal and non-lethal means, such as snap traps, electric traps, CO2. Some of the pest control people, is like if there's a tunnel, like a rat tunnel, they'll spray is the wrong word, but CO2 down, and it will kill them that way. Birth control is being used by some people, and as a last resort, vitamin D3. And that is a poison, but it doesn't cause effects to the animals that eat them. In the materials we provided you beforehand, you can find more detailed examples of IPM. We also have a website, SaveNorthAndoverWildlife.org, and there's more information in there, and there's links to products and things like that. So we're here tonight to talk to you because it's part of a greater education campaign. We're going to do we just met, as you know, with the Conservation Commission, and we're going to do a similar presentation to the Select Board on June 2nd. And on June 2nd, we're going to ask for a ban on escarres on municipal property. It's not as big a deal as it sounds because they're actually not using it on municipal property. We went to DPW and talked to the facilities director, and he said they're not using it. But they're not using it, but they could use it, I guess. So we would like it codified so it becomes an official policy. So we're going to be asking the board to consider that. This is not just Save North Andover Wildlife. There's Save Ipswich Wildlife. There's there's Arlington Wildlife. The last time I checked, there's over 82 cities and towns working on this. Last week when we had our town meeting, Bill Ricca had their town meeting, and they voted to ban it on municipal lands. And other towns in the area are Newbury, Ipswich, Arlington, Belmont, Lexington. So it's really happening. You've probably seen articles in the paper. This is like a movement that's really growing. There's also a state law called the Hawkins Bill, which is up before the legislature. And that's passed, it's going to get banned all across the Commonwealth, but that remains to be seen. And Harvard University, their law area has like animal, I forget what it's called. It's like animal and welfare policy, and they're actually have filed a petition to the pest control companies. I'm sorry, not pest control. Help me with this, MDRA, Massachusetts Division of, I should know that. Anyway, the State Pesticide Board, how about that? Okay. So thank you for this opportunity, and Denise and Janet just have very quick remarks to make about some personal experiences they've had.
By the way, you should also add cinnamon on there too. Cinnamon repels
Oh, okay,
mice.
Okay.
Actually put cinnamon around my shed.
and it works?
Yeah, it works.
Okay.
I've got a few too, but I don't want to delay her testimony.
Oh, it's pretty quick, but,
It's very quick.
yeah. Speaking through the mic?
So
Just a little story, yeah.
I just want to share a story of an experience I had with a bait box. 2 years ago, when my grandson was 5, we were walking around the pond in the mill building by the East Mills behind Stacci's Pizza, and he came upon what looked like, it was a plastic gray rock, and he picked it up, and he's looking at it, he's playing with it, and at the time, I was not aware of what this was or what it was for. And he wanted to take it home, and I said, well, he goes, it's the lightest rock I've ever felt. And I said, but it's fake, it's plastic rock, it's not part of nature, which means someone put it there, so it's not yours, you can't take it home. Had I been aware, because we showed you a slide of the black box, but they also come in the form of these fake
Have you seen those?
gray rocks.
I've
If
seen
you,
the black ones.
if you walk around the mill area, they're there. If you go to the Stevens Estate, they have them all around the Stevens Estate.
And Edgewood too,
Edgewood has them too.
yeah.
I mean, the point, I wasn't aware of what this was, and I didn't tell him not to touch it. Had I been aware, I would, today I would say, do not touch those plastic rocks. They have poison in them.
Is there a sign on the rock
No.
at all that says do not touch?
No, it's supposed to look like
It's supposed to blend in.
landscaping.
Yeah.
And the black boxes are more common. They're at 4 of our schools right now, the high school, the preschool, middle
Atkinson.
school in Atkinson. And there's 15 boxes around the preschool.
They're kids.
Yeah,
They're not in the playground area, but they're around the school, and there's 19 around the Atkinson school where the kids would have access to them because they are near the playground. And the middle school, there were 21 boxes around the middle school.
you can call us the Rat Brigade.
We are the Rat
Yeah.
Brigade.
But you can't, they're sealed. You can't
Yeah.
open them. But sometimes animals come out and they, leave some. There can be food around it, which I think will lead to what you wanted to tell us about.
So Carol was talking about our natural predators for mice and rodents, and I had an unfortunate experience with one of my neighbors who had a little Sheltie dog that they had put rat poison down in their basement because they had a mouse problem, and unfortunately the dog got into it and she died. And they were just devastated, and he said if he had had any idea what this would do to his dog, he never would have used it. So we're basically, like Carol said, we're not pro-rats, but we just think both the town leaders and the citizens of North Andover should be made aware of the dangers of this product. And there are solutions like Carol was talking about. In fact, I just had Banner Pest Control come to my house on Monday because I have a mouse problem. And he used the D3 and he used traps. And I also had an experience where when I got my lawnmower tuned up this spring out of my shed, well, there was a huge mouse nest in it. And you mentioned cinnamon. The guy that's Banner is telling me that he's going to bring me peppermint spray, because that's about the only other thing that will keep them at least out of the shed. So we're just asking the Board of Health to support us in our effort to educate, so.
And again, be aware. We had a big event at the library on March 31st, and a lot of people came to that. And at the Sheep Shearing Festival, a lot of people were really, really interested. Because I didn't know about this 2 years ago. I had no idea. And once people find out, they're kind of horrified. That's kind of it. Are there any questions?
I mean, I appreciate that you guys are focused on education, because time and time again, we'll have people come in front of the board trying to just outright ban something, period, no questions asked. But, and I've gone back and said, well, you know, what about starting with this type of education and this, and I agree with the idea of banning it on municipal properties, 100%, but I think kudos to you guys for the education portion, because you know, most people don't know these little things that you can do just in your own home, and then further up, just, you know, banning it on a from a municipal standpoint too. So I
Yeah,
applaud you.
because we can ban it townwide with the town properties, but if we don't get our neighbors and friends in town to do the same thing, we're still going to be killing unnecessarily.
Another issue, this is a little bit, well, maybe not off topic, but a lot of the properties I'm really concerned about are the ones around the lake, like Edgewood. And there's actually a group, I've been meeting with some people at Edgewood who were talking with their management, you know, about trying to get rid of those. But, you know, the Stevens Estate, I mean, and I've done a little digging, but not enough, but I don't know if it could possibly get into the water supply. I have no idea. I'm trying to find that out. But, you know, when things do, you know how water goes, right? Things get in the water and the stream, so I'm not telling you that it happens, but that's something I want to try to find out about.
Are they any more doing the first generation rodenticides, like Warfarin we always know about?
The first generation, one of the problems was that animals were dying in the house, and it's kind of smelly. And the beauty or tragedy of second generation is they leave and they go out. So, and that's when they get eaten. So that's part of it. You know, and they're always working on new things, but you just can't start with that. That's like the last thing. And the last thing would be D3, which is still a poison, but, you know.
Not secondary. If it's
It's not an anticoagulant.
Right, and if
but-
the owl eats a mouse that's been killed with D3, he won't
Correct.
have a problem.
That's still the last thing you do,
Right.
you know. But shutting those dumpsters is the first thing you do. And I was at the high school where they have 32, and we were walking around, you know, looking at them, and I found a hole in the wall. I have a picture of it. It's the size of a brick right on the base of it. And it's like this big, and that's not exclusion, you know, that you do that first. So anyway, that's our presentation. So,
Any questions?
Just want to say I'm very sensitive to the nature of the problem. I'm very familiar with integrated pest management.
oh, great.
I actually used to be a grower,
Oh.
indoor grower, and
Okay.
so I grew pesticide-free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
virtually the only way you can do that is using IPM.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I grew basil, lettuce, cilantro indoors in Chicago, actually, in warehouses.
Yeah,
So
well, great. Thanks.
I'm very sensitive to the issue, so
Yeah,
Good.
I salute what you're
Yeah.
trying to do.
thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Craig, you're up.
Sure. For updates, I think right after the last meeting, we had the intern start with us. That's from MHOA. It's been going really well. She comes in 2 days a week. You know, North Andover is definitely a place where she's seeing a lot of different issues. She's been on a few inspections with me, but we've also dealt with We're doing the pool, a lot of pool inspections right now. We've had a couple housing issues come up, pest control issues as well. So she's definitely getting to see quite a bit, which is good. We had a food truck training today she was there for, so she's definitely involved and she's doing a nice job. So, it's kind of nice having her, and, it's kind of making me learn a little bit more too by teaching her. It's, coming up with some questions for me, which is nice. Other than that, just been wrapping up. We've had a couple pretty decent trash issues around town that seem to be getting resolved, which is good. A couple of them been a bit of a challenge because we've reached out several times through mail, stopping by, phone calls, and they're not getting back, but the message seems to be getting across because I'll go by these places and they're definitely getting cleaner, which is nice to see. A couple of hoarding issues that we had that also seem to be getting resolved, which is nice to see as well. One of them has been an issue we've been dealing with for probably 4 months now. We're down to monthly visits and everything's going in the right direction, so it's good to see. Rats are definitely on the uptick in North Andover. We've had a few in residential neighborhoods. It's hard because of, people with trash, you really gotta keep an eye on that. Bird feeders, people leaving out, they're leaving stuff, they're leaving their trash out and having a bunch of bird feeders, and then they're calling to complain about rats, but they also don't wanna correct anything on their property that may be contributing, so that's kind of a problem that we've been seeing. But definitely have been more of a presence lately, but seems to be going in the right direction from the couple issues we've had. That's really about it, nothing too crazy.
Other than the bird feeders, what's been, you just think people just aren't securing or getting lax in securing their garbage and things like that?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Some of it's definitely been, I think, some of the construction projects that we've had. People said there are river rats coming up from the Merrimack River.
Also just being closer to
Yeah,
main intrusion points.
exactly. And who knows with the weather with, it was so dry, the river was so low, now it's, so high.
Yeah,
so-
they're trying to escape.
Right, so I think there's some environmental factors that are involved in that as well. So it's just a matter of, being on top, and it's, they had brought up dumpsters in town. There's definitely a few problem dumpsters at businesses that, probably on a weekly basis, when I'm out and about, I'll drive through and check on them and talk to them if I see issues. So as far as the health department goes, we try to be on top of that. With dumpsters, Brian, when I first started here, had me do a dumpster audit that they haven't done in a while, just seeing which businesses have them, are they permitted, what their conditions are. I have talked to a few of them about getting covers replaced or, new dumpsters brought in. So, it's definitely something you gotta keep up with, so I've been trying to go out there and correct it as I see it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Excellent.
We'll take you to Chicago to show you a rat and mouse problem.
Yes, yes. Yeah, a couple places.
New York
They're,
City.
they're as bold as they'll
Yeah.
walk right by you, kind of look at you like, what's
Right.
your problem, bud?
This is my city.
Right, right. And people are definitely using the birth control out there right now, so.
For sure.
See how that goes.
Anything else? I'll entertain. Motion?
Motion to conclude our meeting today,
All right.
adjourn our meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Meeting's adjourned.